Hey guys, so Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is not such a bad game as I was expecting it to be. After what Square Enix did with Marvel's Avengers last year, no one was expecting this new game to be as good as it is. I was not even planning to play it, but I decided to give it a chance when I found out that it was developed by Eidos Montreal, same people who worked on Deus Ex series. So I went in expecting a repetitive game with nothing to offer other than some cool tracks and some good looking visuals. But I came out very satisfied and very surprised, and now I'm wondering why did Square Enix not do this same thing with Avengers. Maybe Square Enix learned from that mistake and that's why we have this Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy right now. So let's talk about the game itself. The game all in all is super fun and it looks awesome. It has brilliant voice acting and it has a serviceable story. The story basically is serviceable because it's not something out of ordinary here. But what is out of the ordinary here is the other aspects of this game. So when I was playing this game and I started playing it, everything, the exploration, the combat and the handling of side characters and the interactions with the characters and the ship even, Milano, they all reminded me of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That game was a very high quality Star Wars game that was basically a Souls-like. This game is not Souls-like. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is not a Souls-like, but it has basically similar production values and a very similar level of storytelling. So it's not a Metroidvania as Jedi Fallen Order was, but it reminded me of that game because I went into that game also expecting nothing and I came out very impressed. So the combat, let us talk about the combat first. See, the combat of this game is at first very basic and it's easy to learn also, and it's not hard to master. You would learn this combat but you would keep on enjoying it till the end of the game. It never gets repetitive, it never gets boring. So you have these blasters in both your hand, dual blasters. You shoot the enemies using them. You press your right trigger or R2 and you shoot at your enemies and they eventually get overheated and you have to stop shooting. You use X in Xbox One and square button in DualShock controllers to do a melee attack, and that's pretty much all. You use B to dodge. These three things, they might sound pretty basic and they are basic, but they never get old. You would have fun doing all these three things. Why? Because they have added a lot of different things into this mix. For example, your blasters, you can upgrade them. There are several upgrades. Not everything is very original, but you can unlock different kind of attacks that you can do with your blasters. There would be an upgrade that would allow you to freeze your enemies. There other would be like an sort of an electric attachment or something, and then there would be upgrades. The upgrades that would improve the usability and performance of your blasters. For example, there was this upgrade I got for my blaster. It was somewhat similar to this fast reload mechanic in Gears of War series, where while reloading, if you press RB at the very right moment, your gun reloads instantly. The same things happen here. If you press right trigger at the very right moment while your blasters are cooling down, if you press the right trigger at the very right time, your blasters would cool down instantly and then you can shoot your enemies without any problems. Other thing that first people were very disappointed about was that Eidos Montreal and Square Enix, they released a lot of trailers and it was revealed that other than Star-Lord himself, Peter Quill, you would not be able to control any other Guardians. That thing was not very good, to be honest, at first. Now while I'm playing this game, I realized that it's not so bad. Yes, controlling all these Guardians individually would have been an awesome thing, but now I'm not missing anything by not controlling them. But what you can do actually is use these Guardians' special abilities that have been given to them in this game in combat and do different kind of things to your enemies. For example, if you take Drax, you can use Drax to stun your enemies so you can deal more damage to them. Then you can use Rocket's demolition expertise. He would throw a bunch of cluster bombs towards your enemies and most of them would instantly just die. Then what Groot does is, he's basically the crowd control character. What he does is he would immobilize all these enemies using his branches or whatever those are. And finally Gamora, if you ask her to attack your enemies, most of the enemies would die instantly. She just delivers a death blow to your enemies. Other than this, you can use all these characters in various ways during exploration while moving ahead in your levels. Basically, these levels are just linear levels, and while you are moving ahead, you would see a ledge that you cannot reach. So what you can do is, if that ledge has a specific marking, you can order Groot to build a bridge that you can use to cross over to that ledge. And if that ledge is a little higher up and there's no marking for building of the bridge, then you can ask Drax and he would pick up something heavy, a box or something or whatever, that would make it easier for you to jump and grab that ledge. But don't expect this game to be as open-ended as Jedi Fallen Order or any other game that you might be comparing it to. It's very linear. Every now and then you would find yourself picking up different kind of collectibles. Sometimes you would find yourself picking up components that would allow you to unlock the perks for your weapons and yourself. The perks are basically upgrades for your weapons. Other than that, there's not much you can do in the environments. You would solve puzzles, you would interact with your fellow characters. Sometimes you would talk to Drax, sometimes you would talk to Rocket, and you would listen to awesome music while doing all this stuff. Then eventually you would find yourself standing in an arena that is very obviously designed for a huge combat scenario. This is how this game goes. This is how this game works. And believe me, it might sound very repetitive, but it is not. It's fun. All those things that happen in between those combat scenarios are fun and interesting. Sometimes you'd find yourself talking to your partners, to your fellow guardians. Sometimes you would just comment on what they're doing, and sometimes find yourself giving an input on a conversation that's already going on. It's basically, it doesn't change much. It doesn't do anything to the story for the story, but it humanizes those characters because you get to choose what to say. Sometimes you can just stay shut. You can shut up and just listen to what your friends are talking about. Other thing that I love the most about this game is its voice acting. The voice acting of these characters is awesome. Why is it awesome? It's awesome because when people were playing Avengers, characters were trying too hard to be their movie counterparts and they will look that way. That's not the case with the Guardians of the Galaxy game. In here, characters are not the characters that you've seen in the movies. In fact, they are the characters that you might find in the comics somewhere, because I find these characters more appealing than they were in the movies. Maybe because I got to interact with them more, or maybe because I got to know them better in the game, and maybe because I was one of them. But whatever the reason might be, I'm sure voice acting adds to it. The other thing that I loved was the soundtrack. The soundtrack in this game is awesome. You'd find yourself humming those tunes while killing aliens. Let's move on to the visuals. How does this game look? It looks mind-blowing. It feels like that you are actually exploring the uncharted territories that these characters roam around in. Every level in this game has an impeccable amount of detail to it that is so evident. I mean, you stand in a place and you look around and you'd be astonished by the amount of details that levels have. And I'm not saying it was not expected once I found out that this game was developed by Eidos Montreal, because the environments in their previous games, the Deus Ex game, were as detailed as they are in this game. That's there. Then let us move on to the story. The story is not something to write home about. It's not going to win any award. If you don't already love Guardians, I'm sure you'd love them more. If you'd start loving them. If you don't know them, you'd start knowing them. It just introduces you to the new characters and some unheard of characters as if you should know them already. But it's not a big deal, because this game is a standalone story, and those characters, they might fit in this huge Marvel universe somewhere. But in this game story, they have their own role to play, and in that particular role, you'd know enough about them than you would care for. You'd not find yourself going over to the internet to find out who that character was that you just interacted with. You wouldn't care because you'd know enough. Let us talk about the performance. So I only played this game on PC. Yeah, I would say that this game is very well optimized. It has no bugs at all. Performance is very good. You would not find yourself struggling even if you have a PC that's like 3 or 4 years old, and this game looks good. Even at high settings, I couldn't believe how good this game looks. And I could not believe in the end how good I felt after I played this game. And I could not believe at the end I was wishing that Eidos Montreal and Square Enix decide to create a sequel for this game. So this was my review of Guardians of the Galaxy for PC. The game also released for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 and Xbox consoles, but I myself have reviewed this game on PC and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You would too if you care for good stories told in an awesome manner. Okay guys, if you like this review, please subscribe, please like, and please click on that notification button, because I would be posting some more videos soon.